A federal appeals court just told Ron DeSantis that you cannot, quote, put together half of a donkey and half of a camel and then ride to victory on the synthetic hybrid. By the way, would that be a donkel? A camkey? Does it have a hump? Does it spit? I don't know. But that was actually something written by an actual federal judge about an actual Florida law, and it might be the single greatest legal insult of the year. And no, the judge was not talking about Stephen Miller, surprisingly. So look, Florida's Stop Woke Act tried to ban public university professors from teaching things that the state didn't like. Things like race and gender, on the theory that because the state pays the professor's salaries, the state owns everything the professor gets to say in class. And on Tuesday, the 11th Circuit ruled 2-1 that this violates the First Amendment clearly. And the judge that wrote the majority opinion, Britt Grant, is a Trump appointee. This wasn't some liberal woke activist judge that Lil Ronnie DeSantis can wave off. No, this was one of Donald Trump's own picks shooting down DeSantis's culture war. And Judge Grant's opinion is a genuine work of art. I've got it linked in the description below. Make sure you read it. But she wrote that Florida's argument would give the state total control over the professor's classroom speech, and that hearing an idea you disagree with is not discrimination. It's an opportunity to come up with a better idea or maybe even change your mind. The judge called Florida's approach a breathtaking assertion of power to ban unpopular ideas from public discourse in the very places that the state's own laws recognize as centers of inquiry. That's from a Trump-appointed judge describing DeSantis's law like it came out of an actual dystopian novel. And the free speech group that brought this case pointed out that 6 other federal appeal circuits have already landed in the same place, that the First Amendment protects faculty when they teach. Florida wasn't just wrong. It was the lone holdout insisting that the entire rest of the country had this backwards. So tell me in the comments, what's a class you took, college, high school, whatever, that completely changed how you thought about something? I want to hear from you in the comments, because that exact moment is what DeSantis has spent the last 4 years in a pile of Florida taxpayer dollars trying to make illegal. For me, I had a couple of classes that approached the Bible. I was a political science and religion major, not a theology major, religions. But they approached the Bible from historical and secular perspectives. It was fascinating. But in this situation, Florida's Attorney General James Uthmeier, who looks like that barback that keeps asking if you've listened to his band's new CD yet, he promises it's great. He didn't take this loss quietly. Uthmeier posted that the ruling means, quote, public university professors have a First Amendment right to teach white supremacy and critical race theory. That's what he posted. But just because you post it, James Uthmeier, doesn't make it true. One, it's not remotely what the ruling says. And two, that's an incredible thing to type when your administration has been pushing garbage like Turning Point USA and PragerU in our schools, which PragerU's educational materials are wild, especially when it comes to trying to talk about white supremacy. Yikes. And look, the dissenting judge here, Barbara Lagoa, she argued that Florida acted within its authority. And of course, Uthmeier praised her online too, saying that she might be the best jurist in the country and should be on the Supreme Court. Ha! Look, this case drew supporting briefs from across the entire map and across the entire political spectrum. The Cato Institute, the National Education Association, Latino Justice, policing scholars, all telling the court the same thing from wildly different directions. The state doesn't get to script what a professor says in front of a room full of adults who choose to be there, period. And this is not DeSantis's first loss on this exact same law, by the way. The same court has already struck down the workplace training part of the Stop Woke Act years ago. So this is just round 2, another loss of Ron DeSantis losing to the First Amendment on the same statute.
We have an ability to just draw a line in the sand and say that's not the type of society that we want.
The district court that originally blocked this law back in 2022 called it positively dystopian. Now, Ron DeSantis can still ask the full court to rehear this, or he can run it up to the Supreme Court, so this is far from over. But right now, a Trump-appointed judge just told Florida's little culture war mascot that you cannot legislate around the document that you conservatives claim to worship. The Constitution, you cannot legislate around it just because you don't agree with something. You cannot build an entire brand about owning the libs in a classroom and still say, you know what? Screw the Constitution. Subscribe, because I will love watching whatever embarrassing loss comes to Ron DeSantis next, and I will report it here.